I'm going to talk about what classes I recommend for Ignite server, as well as tier 4, because the whole point of Ignite server, this is the first thing I want to start this video with, is that what is the purpose of Ignite server? It is telling you guys to, hey, come try Lost Ark or Return. We'll get you quickly to tier 4, right? That's the whole point. If I give you guys class recommendations of the tier 3 meta, doesn't make much sense, because the whole point of Ignite is to take you to tier 4 so that you guys can try out this new combat system called Ark Passive. So I'm not going to talk about what's strong in tier 3. That makes no sense for this video. Let's just face facts. In tier 4, your ult, unless you are very juiced up, you're not going to beat a lot of mains. If you want to play sweaty, that's fine. We'll talk about sweaty, but I think most of you guys should just chase what's fun. And I know you guys hate the F word, fun. What is fun? We'll talk about what makes things fun, especially in my case. It's going to be a lot of personal things, personal opinions. If you disagree with my suggestions, my take, that's fine. You're right. I'm wrong. Because ultimately, it's your class, your character, your journey in tier 4. So you don't have to listen to or agree with anything I say, but this is just my opinion after playing these classes and watching them, and also spectating very closely what my friends play in tier 4. So it's gonna be a very short list of classes I recommend, but I just want you guys to, let me do a lot of disclaimers here. Let me yap a little bit, because I want to correctly explain what's going on. Realistic expectations. When it comes to your ults, you're not going to really beat a main at the start of tier 4, because of the power gap that exists with tier 4. Just like when you guys came into tier 3 and you guys saw some people, you know, swiping their way to max eye level, as well as get, you know, the engraving, legendary engravings early on in tier 3 and level 10 gems early on in tier 3, how they were so much more ahead of you. Remember when you guys didn't have Light of Salvation or the crit set, and you saw some people with like Light of Salvation 18? I remember like one of the first couple posts that I've seen of people getting Light of Salvation 30 in NA, and I was like, damn, you guys got Light of Salvation 30 already? I don't even have 18, yo. And this guy was doing so much more damage, right, than everybody else. So that's gonna be what it's like in tier 4. So when it comes to ults, I highly recommend the F word. Fun. I want to talk about the M word now. M word is next. We did the F word. M word is meta. First of all, class is not important at the start of a new tier. Proper setting and low mistake is better than class. Like, are you built properly in tier 4? Do you have the Ark passives? Do you have the ancient accessories? Do you have like non-rat cheapo accessories? Like, the harder the content, the more people deep dive how you're built. And also, the harder the content, they'll look at which builds you're playing. Are you playing a safer build, more consistent build than one-hit wonders, right? So the M word, going back to the M word meta, we don't know what the meta is because we've only had one baby band-aid balance patch in the entirety of tier 4. It's still very early on. Brel just came out with the karma system, so Smilegate is doing what they do best, which is waiting for more data. They promised a rework, the director did in the last live stream, that some of the classes that he feels need the most help will get a selective rework. That doesn't mean everybody. And you may be typing away, oh, my class, Berserker needs it or Slayer needs it. I don't know, guys. We don't know what's gonna happen with the meta, but I could give you some suggestions. So what do I do, Zeals? What I highly suggest is you guys pick a class that you think is gonna age well. Like, did it carry over like the T-Rex, like the little short range skills? Did they carry over the clunkiness and add on more shackles and burden to that class? More things to manage. For example, like Surge Blades, you have to manage your 60 stacks. Now you have to manage 2 more stacks in tier 4. So it has more shackles than back in tier 3. And a lot of the classes that used to be chill gained additional skills called Hyper Awakening skills. What seemed chill in tier 3 may not seem as chill in tier 4 because there's an added skill and another cooldown management. The new T skill, the Hyper Awakening skill, is very important. So what I'm trying to say, TLDR, is that don't pick what is meta because nobody knows where the meta is headed. But what I think is very important is how well built that class is and how well built that class's Ark passive is, as well as the Hyper Awakening skill, as well as the Hyper Awakening. And the difference between Hyper Awakening skills and their passives are completely different. Changes your classes, how it feels and stuff like that. I just want to say that you need to study these up. Like, for example, is Hunger Reaper as chill as tier 3? It's not. There's more micromanagement. There are more shackles. What are those shackles? You need to find out. So you could be doing the same raid like Aegir hard mode, gate 2. And when I was doing the prog as Surge versus doing the prog as Soul Eater, as well as doing on Peacemaker Gunslinger, night and day difference. The same boss fight is not feeling the same for every build out there. For some of you Giga Chads in chat, maybe you play Remaining Energy or Surge Blade in NAU or Taijutsu, whatever entropy you like playing. Maybe you guys have like a 93% back attack. In tier 4, with the removal of entropy set as we go into Arc passive, most of these, even the bracelet as well as the Arc passive, the positional skills, they still get the crit damage. You don't even have to back attack. If it's a back attack skill and it lands, you get the crit damage bonus. Same thing with the bracelet in tier 4. It says back attack skills, whether you landed at the back or the head or the boobs, it still gets the bonus. So what am I trying to say here? What I'm trying to say is that you're not gonna get 90% back attack rate in tier 4 on most entropy classes. Hunger Reapers, when I look at the Korean Bible, they are able to maintain about 94% back attack rate if they're really good. But other classes like Slayer, for example, I'm looking at the Korean Bible and they're getting like 58% back attack rate in Brelshaza Gate 2. So they're dropping Ambush Master and replacing it with Cursed Doll. Every ambush, the Ambush Master classes, I don't want to say entropy anymore because that is a dinosaur, it's gone. So some entropy classes, when I look at the Bible in Korea, like blades are above, remaining energy blades are above 70%. That's why they're keeping Ambush Master, right? So what I'm trying to say is this: bosses spin a lot in tier 4. The things that make things fun, for me at least, is does my class have counters, right? In the modern day rating of tier 4, drop the tier 3 rating, think of tier 4 rating. And speaking of tier 3 rating, I'm not going sidetrack. This is very important. There's two different metas. One, farm content, where things explode thanks to Arc passive. And then there's Brelshaza hard mode, where so far it's not exploding. It's still a very long fight. So what do you think is going to perform better in farm content? Surge Blade or Igniter Sword? If the boss phases after 2 skills, which I am not exaggerating. You saw my Gate 1 Thamine this week. I pressed 2 skills on my Soul Eater, boss phased. If you never do well in farm content and that upsets you, then you need to think about what's good in farm content. If you don't care about that stuff and you only care about the latest content, there's different meta for that. But anyways, I think a class that is fun is a class that has a lot of counters to tier 4 rates. All right, with all those things out of the way, what do I recommend? With all of the things I just said about farm meta, as well as progression meta. Now, I want to be fair this time. I want to go by class, right? I want to go by class, not subclass, by class. So out of these Shoeshires, who would I recommend as a comfortable, fun alt, fun in regards of these things? Like, I'm not stressed out, I'm not balding, I'm not mauling. Out of these 5 characters, I highly recommend Gunlancers with the Arc passive, with the 4 spacebar. Blue Gunlancers are doing well. Gunlancers are very appreciated in tier 4 content. Gunlancers, once again, doing great, right? Now, just because you picked the class that I recommended and you get gatekept, please don't cry about it in my channel. What did I just say? Is class more important than you properly setting up that character? Do you think that your rat alts, once again, I didn't make up that term. Do you think that your non-elixirs, non-transcended, tier 3 gems still in Arc passive tier 4? You're using dud accessories. You still have purple engravings. You think you're gonna get in because you're a Gunlancer? You need to bring the A game, the harder the content is, because the harder the jail is. Next, in terms of the fighters, which one do I recommend? Breaker got nerfed multiple times. He went from a god to a mortal. I still recommend Breaker. I still recommend Brawler King. The Brawler King Arc passive is very nice. Asura is also gonna get some love soon as well. People are gonna experiment more with Asura as they go deeper with the karma system, as they unlock more Arc passive points in the class node. Out of all of these, I recommend Breaker the most. War Dancer is not bad because of the synergy, obviously, as a War Dancer is still great, but there are a lot of clunkiness and is way more higher risk than in tier 3 because of the new Arc passive, where you have to use 1 more orb, so your orb generation has to be very good. You have to rub the boss very well with your fart, as well as the SSB. And the new Hyper Awakening skill does billions of damage, but you have to land all the ticks. I think it feels worse than Berserker because it has its own red dust. But War Dancer don't have to land the Wind Whisper, but they have to land the roar, right? And it lasts 6 seconds. And if you don't get your full rotation off in those 6 seconds, it's very tight, by the way, as First Intent and Esoteric. If you don't get it in there in the 6 seconds, it feels really bad. First Intent, it feels not as bad because your cooldowns come back up faster, but as Esoteric, you're sitting there 15, 16 seconds, just, right? It just feels smudged. Like you're looking with your eyes at other players, they just you know, they don't have to rely on a 6-second buff. They're just keep cycling. You're just like auto attack. Next, let's go into the hunters. Gunslinger is my favorite class. Let's go back to the F word, fun. People come in my channel these days and ask me why I'm playing Slayer again. The first guy to whistle blow that Slayer is falling apart, right? And now I'm back on Slayer. What's going on? Well, the thing is, it's my alts, right? My Gunslinger, I never expect to get MVP on my Gunslinger. I think the same reason with you guys and Airmancer. Airmancer is very popular in Korea. Look at that. Airmancer is the second most popular class in Korea. Second most. Is it because she's triple S tier DPSer that MVPs by 40 miles? No, because she's cute, adorable, fun, and she's goofy and warms your heart. Gunslinger is really fun with the Arc passive. She got more attack speed, as well as you could even lower her cooldown if you want to. If you want to go more burst centric, you could go blunt spike build. If you want to do more cycle dealer like Behemoth, where you could do up to 3 cycles, you could go with the mana cost reduction as well as cooldown reduction build. But as Gunslinger mains, what are they complaining about? That they don't do enough damage compared to other classes. But I think they kind of don't get their role. Their role isn't to break the whole raid and MVP by a mile. They're more of a cycle dealer, right? They're not going to outburst a gauge class. Arcana has proven to be very safe for me to pick. I like their crit synergy. They seem to be very reliable. Now, you may be thinking, why not Sorceress? The reason why I'm like making this recommendation very small is because I feel like, yes, Sorceress can burst, but Burger King and Spec Soul Eater, they can burst way safer with their tenacity. So it's not that Sword can't burst. It just, someone can just do it better. Like, there's nothing wrong with playing Hunger Reaper, my friends. There's nothing wrong. I like Hunger Reapers and Bro, right? But the thing is, Blade has better synergy, does more damage. You know, it is what it is, right? But if you still like Hunger Reaper, or you like Reaper because the Hyper Awakening skill, it looks cool to you with the like the Blood Moon and all that thing, then go ahead, right? Now, let's go to the Assassins. Assassins right now are killing it. Shadowhunter, I recommend. I've been recommending for a while. The rotation, you could turn off the gauge. There's the new X burst skill and the new T skill, not bad. So Shadowhunter is also a great alt if you have a juiced up main. My blade has full level 10 gems, and after I finish the raids, I can mail those gems on my transformation classes, and they could equip that in tier 4 to get the 1.2% attack boost. So you just have your demonic cooldown, demonic attack skill, and then fill the 9 gems with, let's say, your mains level 9 or 8 or 10 gems. So Shadowhunter, transformation, as well as PS, perfect suppression. It just recently got nerfed because it was performing pretty good, I guess. But yeah, like these gems, I could just mail it over and it'll help my Shadowhunter a lot, the transformation. So if you want to have a nice ult, Demonic Shadowhunter, highly recommend it. Blade, Remaining Energy, highly recommend it. It's just too good. It's just too well built with the new surge and with the Arc passive. It's a charge. Think of it as a charge Zealot. It moves a big distance. And she uses 2 swords to slash, and that slash is a little bit more advanced than the charge itself. So sometimes you're like, man, I'm not gonna land that surge, but you do land it, right? And then you could go through the boss with it, and it does a lot of damage, right? It's not like Distortion where it doesn't do damage. It has tenacity. Animation is pretty nice, good enough to ignore mechanics with the tenacity. If you really want a very chill cycle dealer, I would highly recommend Remaining Energy Blade over, for example, Hunger Reaper. Hunger Reaper, you have to manage Conviction Judgment. Your Z and T needs to cool down. You have to cooldown manage those perfectly. Well, you want to. There's also added stress of the Z where you want to fit in as many soup skills as possible. If you don't like that kind of stress and micromanagement, then Remaining Energy is pretty chill. Soul Eater, obviously, highly recommend Soul Eater. Full Moon Soul Eater right now. Great for farm content, great for everything. The way she is built, the tenacity, as well as the Hyper Awakening, as well as the Arc passive is great, 4 shards. But that comes with an added risk because now if you screw up your gauge, you're missing 4 skills, right? So it comes with a little risk. Just understand that just because you have Full Moon doesn't mean you auto win, right? You still have to plan your gauge well and execute it. And she is able to take care of the blunt spike build because her Z is pretty broken. Like Punisher Slayer, when you press Z, she gets that added crit. So she can take advantage of the blunt spike. So her ceiling is incredible even after the nerf. Fastest burst in the game. You build gauge for, it depends on the build and your gems, anywhere from 12 to about 15 seconds to build a gauge in tier 4 with Arc passive. And then you could just climax, just unload all at once. You do like so much damage in a split of a second. It's crazy. So if there's like mechanics where you need to kill something within very short time, Soul Eater can do that. Like Behemoth head drops, the first head break, she can take care of that, fit in over 20 billion damage easily. Aeromancer, highly recommend Aeromancer in tier 4. Both builds are very nice right now. If properly built, very favored for parties, right? The synergy is great. Aeromancer is always nice. IIs are always welcome if properly built. Now, the other classes like Artillerists, you know, the Scouters, Sharpshooter, including like Sharpshooter, I think is very great, very safe as well, but they don't excel at something. I'm just saying, like, Sharpshooter is great. Artillery is still great. I feel like every class right now in tier 4 is getting invited as long as they're properly built. That's the main key. Properly built, not cutting too many corners. Like Summoner can also burst, and she has tenacity because of her, you know, the Phoenix build, as well as the Master Summoner. But does Master Summoner have more added risk than, for example, Soul Eater? Yes, because she has less mobility. That doesn't mean Summoner is impossible or unviable. Just play better, right? Just play better. As a Summoner, you just need to work with your pros. And if you have a little bit more cons than another class who's more modern, like Soul Eater, then you just have to play better. That's it. Those are the classes that I recommend, and for the reasons. If you disagree with me, that is great, because at the end of the day, you should play what you want to play.